What's up, decoders? It's your boy Vernon, and we are back with another video. I want to take a moment to say thank you guys so very much for all the love and support on the channel. We're still on the road to 1,000 subscribers. You guys are definitely showing up and showing out, and I truly appreciate it. I want to say welcome to all the new members of the Decoder crew, and I want to apologize on a couple days with no videos. My day job is kicking my butt, but the show must go on, and so we're gonna get back into this rhythm, man, and do our level best to keep bringing you the best news, the latest events, and kind of keep you abreast to what's going on in the world. Before we get started, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload here at Daily Decoded. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, share it with a friend. And with that, let's get into this video. All right, guys. So first and foremost today, we want to take a look at the case of Karmelo Anthony. His murder trial has started, and it looks like we are at the jury selection phase. Now, some of you may not recall, but like a year ago, a young man named Karmelo Anthony, not the basketball player, he stabbed in self-defense a young man at a track meet, and it was a huge story in the news, and it kind of felt like it just kind of went away, and you know how these things tend to go. And so this trial has begun, and like I said, we are in the jury selection phase. Now, if you ask me, I feel that Karmelo has a good case for self-defense. He acknowledged that him and the twin brothers had issues in the past, and that day there had been some taunting, and he felt threatened. He felt like his life was in jeopardy and at risk because the brothers allegedly were jumping him. And so he pulled out a knife, defended himself, and unfortunately, one of the young men passed away. And so we're gonna take a look at video from the track meet. And so we're gonna take a look at the Court TV video and react to it.
And let's go right now to someone who was inside of that courtroom listening to these opening statements. No cameras, but we have our eyes and ears inside of the courtroom. Cody Thomas joins us now live outside of the courthouse in McKinney, Texas. Cody, good to see you. Tell me about those opening statements. First of all, what was it like being inside of the courthouse for those?
Well, yeah, Julia, as we know this judge is really laying down the law inside that courtroom, being very strict on how people go to and from the courtroom, and about, us as media using electronics. He even admonished members of the gallery for whispering to each other, saying if he caught somebody whispering again, I didn't see anybody whispering, but he just said if he saw that again, they'd keep them out. He kicked them out permanently. But
what you see in a lot of these cases is the judges are not playing. They've decided we are not going to have a circus, a clown show in this courtroom, and they're laying the law down. We saw that in the Chud, the builder case, or the kind of arraignment bond hearing, where that pro-MAGA right-winger guy was trying to make a scene, and he got held in contempt, right? Got fined, had to probably do a couple hours in jail, right? So these judges are making sure that they have full control of their courtrooms, because what they're not going to do is have you come in there and make this a show.
He just said if he saw that again, they'd keep them out. He kicked them out permanently. But Julia, to touch on those opening statements, of course, the prosecution is continuing the narrative that we've heard from the beginning since April of 2025, that Karmelo Anthony was under that tent for no good reason. He was just there, and then Austin Metcalf and his friends came up to approach him to say, get out from under the tent, to which Karmelo Anthony, the prosecution says, got aggressive, reached in that bag, pulled out a knife, and stabbed Austin Metcalf. But the defense in their opening statements painted a different picture. They began by humanizing Karmelo Anthony, talking about how he had 2 jobs in high school, how he was, a brother, a son, an oldest brother, how he was a 3.7 GPA A student in school, just really painting him out to be a good human being before diving into their version of the facts of the case. Now, of course,
and that's standard, right? You're gonna find that the prosecution's job is to paint the picture, the narrative, that Karmelo was this out of control teenager who was going to buck the system, do what he wants, be this aggressor, knowing that him being under the tent was going to cause a problem, right? But if I recall correctly, it was raining that day at a track meet. And I don't know about you, but if it's raining and I'm at a track meet and there's a covering, I'm going to get under it. That's just me. But of course, again, the prosecution has to paint the picture. And the defense, their job is to paint Karmelo as a, what you might call a sympathetic figure, right? Here this young man who working 2 jobs, has a great GPA, hasn't really been in a lot of trouble, if any at all. And he just wanted to get dry. And these 2 brothers were aggressors, and he felt and feared for his own safety. And so the prosecution and defense are doing what they're supposed to do, right? This is kind of standard fare, right? This is par for the course, that they're going to paint a picture to try to convince the jury that their argument holds more weight. And that's to be understood. It's still early in the process, so let's see where it goes.
A good human being before diving into their version of the facts of the case. Now, of course, we've heard that statement from eyewitnesses, or a witness on the stand, or not on the stand, in the area, saying that Karmelo reached into the bag saying, "Touch me if you want to," or "See what happens if you touch me." And that's what led, when Austin pushed him, he stabbed him in the chest. But the defense attorney says it was more of a, as long as you don't touch me, we'll be cool. Implying that, you know, everything's fine. I understand there's a verbal altercation going on here, but just don't put your hands on me. So that was the narrative the defense painted there. They also said that Karmelo was under the tent because he was seeing somebody he was familiar with, a friend of his still girlfriend now, somebody he'd been acquainted with, somebody he recognized. And then they walked through some of that video, Julia, showing that Karmelo Anthony was under the tent for about 2 minutes before Metcalf, his twin brother, and their friends got to the tent, and the whole ordeal went down in about 4.5 minutes of both of them, both parties being under that tent, Julia. But
see, that sounds to me like the prosecution is going to have a hard time proving that Karmelo came under the tent with malice or intent to cause a problem. If the defense can prove that he was under there, and there's video evidence, you just heard him say that there's video evidence that he was under that tent for at least a couple of minutes, seeing a mutual friend of his girlfriend. And that to me speaks to, hey, I'm here first. These brothers come in there, I'm not paying them no attention. They come in, they want to start a problem with me. And you know, what the witness said, how Karmelo backs up with the bag and threatens, hey, look, I grew up, you threw them hands. You know what I mean? You take that L, you know, like they said in Friday.
This is what makes you a man. When I was growing up, this was all the protection we needed. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day.
But that's how I was raised. Nowadays, these kids can't take that L, because that L gonna end up on Facebook, Instagram, World Star. And for them, taking that L, it's just that's not an option. And so they are quick to go to a weapon to defend themselves. And I think that's where Karmelo is going to probably have the most problem, because the prosecution wants to paint him as this dangerous thug type figure who was looking to use this knife on Mr. Metcalf. And the defense is going to have to do a very good job to counter that argument, to paint Karmelo as, look, he was there. He was just enjoying, you know, the tent, he was speaking with a friend, and these 2 young men and their friends came in and caused a problem. And he just defended himself.
Went down in about 4.5 minutes of both of them, both parties being under that tent, Julia. But again, emotional out here. I'm looking around it here. There's a lot more demonstrators than there were yesterday during jury selection. So, you know, each side is here. It's a polarizing case, of course, that has caught many headlines across this country. But those opening statements were definitely powerful on either side.
Notes, Cody. We're so fortunate that you've been able to share with us what is happening inside of that courtroom. Tell us more about the surveillance video, because your notes on this were very interesting. What were you able to see? And then I also understand there was a reaction from the victim's family when that was being played.
And look, this is a high-profile case. You've got a young black man who killed a young white man in a very affluent part of Texas. And so anytime there is a racial component, tensions are going to be high. And I remember when this happened, the father, and I can only imagine, right? The father was doing things. I don't know if he was trying to get a reaction from the Anthony family, but there was a lot going on there. And that just kind of helped stoke the fire, stoke the flames of contention in the community. And, you know, this coming back up, the trial, you're gonna see a lot of emotion, you know, like what we just saw out in South Carolina with the young man who was killed by the Asian gas station store owner. Whenever there is the racial component, the emotions are gonna be through the roof, because ultimately it always ends up being the black life at the most risk or jeopardy of being lost, whether it's being found guilty and getting the death penalty or life, or ending up dead and having to have justice be served on their behalf. So let's hear more about the video and the reaction to that.
Yeah, Julia, so that's in the opening statement. They were referencing surveillance video. And, you know, of course, everyone wanted to see video. We haven't seen anything. There's been a gag order on this case since the very beginning last year. So they start playing this video. There are 5 different angles of the video getting walked through from testimony by the forensic video analyst. And they were very wide-angle videos, Julia, and the witness had to talk about how he had to use this software to zoom in and try to make the video as clear as possible. And even then, Julia, I won't lie, it still looked very fuzzy and hazy. It definitely sets the scene. You can see what's going on, but even the prosecution distinctly said that you won't be able to uniquely identify anyone, but they referred to Karmelo on the video as the person of interest, and they referred to Austin Metcalf as the victim. Of course, as the forensic analyst has digested this video and dissected it and pointed out everything that we need to know, going through shoes and the type of clothing they were wearing. So we identified who each person was in the video, even though they kind of just looked like humanoid blobs. But you see, one thing.
Humanoid blobs, it's crazy.
Stood out to me, Julia, is that, you know, I'm very familiar with track meets. I was under the impression that, you know, when you go to a championship track meet, you have multiple tents on the same side of the bleachers. But in this video, because it's early in the morning, just before 10 a.m. when all this happened, the high school where all this went down, Memorial High School, it was just an isolated tent in the bleachers by itself. There were no surrounding, you know, schools or anything in the general area. You saw some schools walking in, but I guess, you know, the meet was just starting. But anyway, they identified Karmelo walking up the bleachers, kind of walking towards the tent. He kind of goes towards someone, and you see him standing there for a couple of minutes. Then you see Austin Metcalf, his twin brother, and his friends walking up and getting under the tent. And then once everything's happening under the tent, it just kind of looks like a blob of people. You can't really make out anything that's really going on for 5 to 6 minutes.
I think that's important. I think there only being like the one isolated tent, I think that plays well for Karmelo, because initially, right, the way that they painted this story was that Karmelo went under a tent where he knew the brothers were, caused a ruckus, and that's how this all went down. But it's sounding more to me like he went under there with the intent to talk to a friend. The brothers came in with their entourage, that there was nowhere else for Karmelo or really the brothers to go. And there was just an altercation like there tend to be in high school. Like, these things happen, right? And it sounds to me like we had a perfect storm of circumstances that unfortunately led to the loss of life. But it doesn't sound to me like Karmelo was like some perpetrator, some, you know, aggressor looking for a problem. And I think having that video evidence is going to work out very well for him. I hope, at least. Because listen, it's two different justice systems. And when you got this skin, it don't always work out for you.
Blob of people. You can't really make out anything that's really going on for 5 to 6 minutes. And then you see a quick to and from. You know, and they were implying that was like the push, the initial contact. You can't really see anything happening. Before then, you see people walking by. They're not really, you know, turning heads as if something's loud and, you know, something's catching their attention. But all of a sudden, you see that to and from, and then you see Karmelo, or who they identify as person of interest, who we're assuming to be Karmelo Anthony. He runs out from under the tent, and then he's running down the bleachers, sprinting a ways away from the tent and out of the stadium onto the track and everything towards one of his coaches. And eventually after that, we see another angle of the video where Karmelo's been taken into custody by police. But the reaction, Julia, it wasn't a visceral reaction. You know, when you saw the to and from, of course, that's the stabbing action, if you will. All I saw, I'm sitting 2 rows behind Austin Metcalf's father, and his head was just kind of in his hands, kind of like this. Wasn't necessarily crying, but, you know, just implying that he doesn't really want to see, even though you can't see the stabbing, but he knows in his mind this is the moment that his son lost his life. So he was just there, you know, obviously overwhelmed by everything. I'm sitting right behind the Metcalf family. Karmelo Anthony's family is on the opposite side of the courtroom. But again, the video, not as
I can't even imagine being the father, cat boy, who lost his life. And now I'm in the courtroom. Stay safe out here, right? Be vigilant. And I think sometimes you have to be willing to walk away from a situation, because if not, your life, whether it be your actual literal life or your life in the sense of your freedom, can be taken away. I'm gonna leave a link to this video from Court TV in the description, so you guys can check out the rest. This video is getting a little long, but yeah, man, my heart goes out to both families, because honestly, I don't know if I could deal. Yo, thank you guys so much for taking the time. Listen, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Do you think Karmelo is like a danger to society? Do you think that, you know, he is kind of being railroaded, that he had a legitimate self-defense case and he's protected himself, you know, by standing his ground? Let me know what you think. And where do you think that this trial is gonna go? Do you think he's gonna be found guilty? Think he'll be found not guilty? Do you think he has a legitimate defense? Because I do. You know, I personally think, but I want to hear what you guys think. You guys think I'm wrong? Look, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. There are a billion YouTube channels out there, and you could literally be on any one of them, but you're here, and I truly appreciate that. Listen, take a second. If you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you don't miss a single video upload. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up. If you disliked it, hit the thumbs down. It helps the channel either way, and it helps other people find us here at Daily Decoded. And look, if you like my view, dislike my view, have a different perspective, please leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll do my level best to respond to everyone. But that's all I got for you on this one. Until next time, as always, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay dangerous, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.